Hello. Hey. Ooh, we here, we here. Hey now. It's gonna be a day. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's low key. This is probably my favorite day. It's probably my favorite day. I'm not even gonna hold you. It probably is. It probably is. Um, so let's start with the obvious. I am blocked on TikTok again. And it says that I cannot apply for another 2 hours, which is, fine. So I probably won't be showing up on live on TikTok this Wednesday. Maybe I won't show up until next Wednesday. But, I'm here. Hopefully the video will make its rounds. And, we can we can get some sex education on TikTok. We don't have it right now, but hey, we can't win them all. We can't win them all. We can only win some of them. So, no tea, no shade. I get it. I don't think that TikTok has the ability to do like the restrictive process either, because my niece be watching me. Scoops, if you watching this right now, turn the phone off, okay? They still be getting on here, so like I get it. I don't feel any type of way about like being restricted from certain platforms and stuff. Like, I get it. We want to protect the children, and we want to protect the people who don't need this information. Totally understand. No objections from me. But I hope that if you are here, that you are ready to get into some people's business. We got some good questions today. Yeah, we got some good stuff today. We got some good questions. You know what? And let me check. I checked yesterday, but no, I checked today before yesterday. No, I think it was yesterday. Let's see if we got anything overnight. So let's talk about how we do this today. Okay. So this is a live, this is a live Q&A on your sexual health questions. Okay, so that means that we are um, talking about, we're going to be talking about sex. We're going to be talking about some kind of heavy thing. So I completely understand if, you are triggered or feel any type of way. I totally get that. Just remember that this space is, supposed to be open for everyone. We want all people to be able to ask their sexual health questions, to get the answers they may need. I'm here to work for y'all. I don't care what the question is about. I don't care, about the semantics of it. I am not expecting you to have the perfect language for the question that you have to ask. I am leaving a lot of grace open for you to get the answers that you need. I am not interested in, judging you or any of that. That's not my job. I'm not here to discourage any of your behaviors unless you're not being safe and you're not, like, you're doing some risky shit. Then I'm absolutely here to discourage that, but also here to give you the way to do it in a not so risky manner. Okay, so I'm not here to talk about, to judge you about how many partners you have or what you're doing with your butthole. I do not care. I want you to be safe, and I want you to be having fun. And so that is my goal. That's what I'm here for. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to leave those questions in the chat, and I will address them as they come up. If you have any other have questions that you want to ask that you may be a little embarrassed to ask, or you don't want people in your business, you can send those questions to me, to my email, and I will be happy to bring those questions back to the chat for you, which is, some of the questions that we have today, or all the questions that I will just be reading off will be questions that people have sent to me over the week that they're looking for responses or answers to. So that is what we'll be doing. Let's check and see. We're going to go through our stuff and see if we have any questions sitting in here. No. Okay, hold on. They moved it. Where is that at, though? Oh, okay. Hold on. Boom. Okay. Nope, and we don't have anything in the spam. All of those are for me. Okay, let's check into our socials. See what the people are talking about. If they have anything that they might want to throw in the hat. Okay. Hold on. So if you do have questions, you can feel free to, bring them up, drop them in the chat. I want to encourage you to use this time and use this space to get your questions answered. I am here as a resource for you. So I don't want you to feel shy or, feel like that this isn't a safe space to do that. This is absolutely, if you know anything about me, you know that I 100% encourage you to get in the mix and to enjoy your life and to enjoy your sexuality and your sexual health. Okay, so that's not it. I don't think we have. Let me see. Okay, no, it looks like I think I pulled all the ones that were already in here. Okay, okay. Okay. All right. So I think we good. I checked and it doesn't look like it was anything that I missed. Now watch somebody be like, "You didn't answer my question." Probably end up blocking me or something. People be sensitivity about it. Maybe sensitivity about it. So, oh, shut up. It let me do it on my phone. Okay, okay, okay. So we are live. Okay, okay. So let's answer the questions that we have that we've already picked up previously in the chat. Okay, so let's talk about how we do this and how we keep our accounts up. Okay, you can ask me whatever question you want. I'm here to answer whatever question you have. Comma, but a lot of programs and systems already have like a built-in moderator in the programs. And so in those moderations, they sometimes take certain words and they don't allow those words to appear on their systems, which I get, right? It's, hey, you can't win them all. But I do want to encourage you to ask the questions that you need to ask. But if you feel like you don't see me answering your question, or if something is comes up or whatever, you may not see me like answering the question, or it's not popping up in the chat or whatever. That's all fine. But if you want to ask your sexual health questions, try to ask the questions in a way to leave out the spicy words. I'm really good with my context clues. Okay, I'm really good with them. So you can leave out the word that you think is keeping you from being able to ask your question, and I can pretty much figure out what's going on or whatever. So you can ask me any question that you have that has anything to do with sex, anything to do with gender, anything to do with pleasure, anything to do any of those things. Okay, you can ask me those questions and I'm going to give you an honest, non-judgmental answer to those questions. Okay, so it looks like I'm able to stream here and I'm able to stream on TikTok, so I'm going to have to watch both of the chats to see what questions are coming up. But please feel free to ask your questions. Please feel free to hop in here. Again, I'm not here to judge you. I am not here to try to place any kind of emotions or feelings on anything that you do. That's not my business, okay? I actually want to encourage you to do it more, just safely, okay? I just want you to be safe. So let's start with our very first question, and you probably won't be able to see this on TikTok, so I'll figure out how to do that so that you guys can see, but I'll ask it too. So our first question that we had that was sent to our email user question is going to be, I'm a young man and I recently did a 10-year bid in prison. I want to get back into meeting people, but I'm worried I am out of practice. What do I need to know about the world and sex? Okay, first of all, it's a really good question. Second of all, congratulations on your freedom. I'm so glad you're back into society. Hopefully, that's not my business, okay? Not my business. But, so let's talk about what may have changed since then. And although it may not seem like a lot has changed, it actually has. The way that you move, the way that people view relationships and view communication has taken a really big turn. I don't know how long you've been out, but if you've been keeping up, people are not happy with the dating pool. They saying it's got pee in it and all kind of stuff. So, so here's the thing. If you are committed to being in a healthy relationship and you want to be a better person, I can absolutely guide you to that. Okay. If you are trying to be manipulative and do all that, I can't help you with that. Okay. I can't help you. So some of the things you need to know is that it's going to require a lot more effort for you to be in a relationship in this day and time, right? Back in the gap, when people were in relationships, men had a lot more physical power. And by physical power, I mean that, you know, a lot of people weren't able to do a bunch of things without the support of men. So, you know, you may not have been able to support yourself, or, you know, all those different types of things, raise a family, many things. There are plenty of people now who are doing those things that are not necessarily, that men are not necessarily needed in the same way that they were needed before. Yes, you are still needed for financial support. Yes, you are still needed for familial support, but it is not just a you show up with the money and that's good enough, right? There is a level of emotional maturity that is required, a lot more from men now. There is a level of safety that is required a little bit more now, actually a lot more now, that, you know, while you were gone, many men were making it unsafe to date. They were, and not even just men, like, honestly, you need to be aware of women as well, because these women are connected to other people who are happy to set you up and rob you. Okay. They are happy to set you up and tell you that. And sometimes we were talking about this yesterday with sexting. We did a stream about sexting, and there are people who are setting up fake dating profiles. They set up fake dating profiles, and they use those dating profiles to target men. They set them up, they make you give them your address, and then they run up in your house and take all your shoes and your clothes and sometimes your life. So you do need to be more careful. If somebody is hella pressing about you coming to their house, that's a red flag, right? If it's hey, I don't really want to get out, I just want to, stay in, and that's like your first interaction or your first hookup between that, then yes, you are likely walking into a trap, and I don't want that for you. But it is going to take a lot more care and a lot more thought to date in today's society. And so you are going to have conversations with people. You are going to have to listen to the conversations that are happening and take data from those conversations and apply it to how you date that person. Which before, you could just show up, you have money, or, you could be handsome, and that could be enough. At this point in time, the girlies are saying that you being fine and having money is not enough. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. And so it is important that you are setting yourself up in a way that feels natural to you, but also that you're not creating an issue or creating a version of you that you cannot uphold, right? And not everybody's gonna it's not you need to have more money, you need to have this and that. In actuality, you need to have empathy, you need to have the capability of intimacy, and you need to have your anger and your violent tendencies under control. And that's everyone, right? So yes, it has changed a little bit. But what has changed the most that I have noticed, and again, this is just from me being a sex educator, okay? One thing that I have noticed that is a lot different from when, we were younger is the emphasis on the actual intimate interaction, right? My professional opinion, and I feel like I'm the expert in the room on this, okay? My professional opinion is that men have no longer made it a priority to be good at sex, And I don't think people realize how important of a tool that is. Okay. I made a video the other day that said that Shirley was not on Barbara's phone because he was paying bills. Okay. Shirley was on that man's phone because he was breaking her back in. Okay. Because he was dropping it off. And so people, just from my expert opinion, that people are a lot more willing to put up with the other stuff if you know your way around some pleasure. Okay? If you know how to successfully deliver pleasure, you have a better chance of people putting up with your shit. That's all I'm saying. That's all that I'm saying. And so, people may not understand the importance of being good at sex, but statistically, your body, this is the data, okay? This is not me making stuff up. This is not me trying to convince you or none of that. This is the data. The data says that if you are not sexually satisfied, that you statistically will have a lower quality of life. What is a lower quality of life? You will be more prone to depression. You will be more prone to anxiety. You will be more prone to a lot of those mental issues that you don't necessarily link to your sexual health. For example, let me give you an example. If you are experiencing erectile dysfunction, okay, say this is just something that randomly happened to you, you didn't know, there's nothing, you're not old, even if you are old, but say you're just, you're experiencing erectile dysfunction. You experiencing that erectile dysfunction is going to make you, when you are attempting to talk to someone or attempting to connect with a partner, you are going to have that information in the back of your mind. And it is always going to cause you anxiousness because you know that you are pursuing someone who at some point is going to have to find out that, you're experiencing erectile dysfunction. And so it could possibly make you not want to connect with people, not want to reach out to people in that way, because you don't know if you're going to experience a bout of erectile dysfunction, right? And erectile dysfunction can be, or ED can be a very heavy mental load, so much so that there are certain conditions that one of the side effects is literally divorce. You are more likely to get divorced, but it's not because of being able to perform. It's more so just because it changes who you are. If you always have to keep in the back of your mind that, my deal might not work, or that this might not work out the way that I wanted to, right? And so with keeping that in mind, let me move this up because I feel like I'm looking down too much. Keeping that in mind, that, the opportunity to, oh no, I don't want to put that up there. What if I put it up here? That experiencing certain types of sexual dysfunction will actually have a very poignant and pressed impression on your mind. It's going to dictate how you interact with others. It's going to dictate your own self-worth, like how you see yourself. So just you knowing that you are not where you were before in this specific act can cause you to see yourself differently. So knowing that your sexual health actually has a connection to your mental health, it's important that you know how to have good intimacy interactions, okay? And that is a lot of you learning yourself, but also opening the door so that you can learn your partner. And so you're talking about like really having to get in there and really having to apply care. Now, let me give you some data. On intimacy satisfaction, okay? When they look at all the demographics of people who engage in intimate connections, who's most likely to experience intimate satisfaction, i.e. orgasm, who's most likely to do that is going to start with, oh, hold on, because I'm finna mess up the order. Which slide is that? Which one do I have that on? Oh, I know which one it's on. Hold on, because I just did a class on this the beginning of the month. So I do have that data written down somewhere. Here we go. Let me go to my statistics. That's what I'm gonna call it. Cause I don't want to be blocked. I don't want us to listen. They're gonna kick us out. They're gonna kick us out. Okay. They're gonna kick us out. Okay. So statistically, when it comes to satisfaction in the bedroom, is that gonna keep us up? I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna keep us up. So it starts with heterosexual men receiving sexual satisfaction most regularly, followed by gay men, then bisexual men. So we have heterosexual men, gay men, and then bisexual men. We're talking about orgasm from top to bottom. So bisexual men, and then lesbians, then bisexual women, and then at the very bottom of that list is heterosexual women. Okay, so we're talking about the most big O's going to gay men and the least big O's going to heterosexual women. So you have an opportunity here as a man getting back into the field to fall into a hole that not very many people are in. Okay? If you can deliver intimate satisfaction, you're already ahead of the pack. Okay, so I would encourage you to learn more about sexuality, to learn more about consent, because consent probably wasn't that big a thing when you went in. You know, I don't know what you went in for, but there has been a culture of not understanding what consent is and understanding how to apply it. So learn about consent, learn about the body, learn about your body, where your pleasure points and stuff are, and then learn about the body of the gender you're interested in. Okay. Another thing you may want to keep in mind is that your gender preference can change. You can change what you like and what you don't like. You can also move into a more confident and embodied version of yourself that may have already known that you were interested in these different arenas. Okay. You can be it. You really have the opportunity to slide in and make yourself happy if you're willing to address your own sexual health. If you're willing to have the conversations about, how important it is to you. And also just keeping in mind that you are looking for someone who's intimately compatible with you. Okay. Not someone to change to your level of intimacy, but someone who is compatible and on the same wavelength that you are. To do that, and if you are a whole and complete person, and I say that because sometimes trauma and other types of abuse can change how we see ourselves, and it also can change what we take and what we don't take. Okay. So you have the opportunity to build your sexual preference based on what you want and what you desire. So to do that, you will need to know where other people are on that spectrum. Okay. And that is a conversation that you have to approach with care. You can't just be like, so what you into? No. Okay. And if you need help, if you're going to be having those conversations through text, you can go back onto my Twitch and you can watch the stream from yesterday where we talked about sexting, how to do it, how to make sure that you are being safe and all those things. It's posted on my Twitch, so you can go find it. But you can get an idea of how to have those conversations. But it's important that you are trying to find someone who's on the same level that you are. And whatever level that is, there are people out there that's on the same level. If you are just trying to hook up, and I know this is not something that people normally say, but if you're just trying to hook up, there are also other people out there who are just trying to hook up, right? So it is best that you find your people instead of finding someone and trying to change them and move them to your level. The same way it's not safe to try to, move you and tell you that, oh no, you can like other things. I'm trans and you can get down with this. You would feel like someone's trying to force you to, get into somewhere that you don't feel comfortable doing. So keep that in mind when you're moving through as well, that you're not trying to make people meet you somewhere where you are and they aren't. So keep that in mind. But other than that, like, you have the opportunity to have fun. If you're just looking for, even if you're not just looking for hookups, or I don't know what the kids call it these days. What do the kids call one night stands or like hooking up? I don't know. It used to get a new name every couple of years, so I don't know what it's called right now. But if you can find someone who's on the same type of time you're on, fine. And if you're going to be looking for someone that's just trying to make intimate connections, you absolutely need to be good at it, because no one's gonna call you back if you're bad at it. If that's what I'm here for and you stink at it, I'm not gonna call you again. Nobody's gonna be on your phone. I posted another video on TikTok where a lady said she fell in love with a man on an air mattress in his cousin's living room. Okay, that's not happening because of money. That's not happening because you have a brilliant personality. That is happening because he is putting her through the mattress. Okay, so please do not devalue the the sanctity of being put through a mattress. People absolutely understand what it is. They understand what type of time you on, and sometimes they on the same type of time. So good luck, for sure. Good luck getting back out there. I hope you have such fun. I think I already got blocked on TikTok again. Hey, whatever. It happens. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say about it. This is, teaching sex education is rough, man. It's rough. Every time someone new pop into my Twitch, they be like, I didn't know you could do this on here. Like, girl, I didn't either, but here we are. Okay. So if you have any sexual health questions, I am here to answer any of those questions. I want you to be able to learn. I am here to be a resource and to help you. You can drop your questions in the chat if you have them. I'll be happy to answer them live. Of course, with no judgment, no shame, no none of that. We're here for a good time and not a long time. Some of us are here for a long time too, but we want to have a good time in the middle of that long time. So, all right. Let's get to our next question. And if we weren't blocked before, we definitely finna be blocked now. Okay. We definitely finna be blocked. Okay. The question is, why doesn't my shoot across the room like in adult videos? I get up and I notice a puddle, but I want the theatrics, LOL. How can I make it shoot out? Okay. We're definitely finna get blocked off of here. But let's get into it. Okay. So what you are talking about is called female ejaculation. That is the phenomenon that you are discussing. Female ejaculation comes in we'll call it FJ, okay? Because you're probably gonna get in trouble. So we're gonna call it FJ. FJ is a phenomenon that many people have seen in adult videos, and people strive to have those types of orgasms. They strive to have that type of experience, and low key, there's a lot of times that you may have actually already experienced it, but are not sure that's what happened. Okay. So what's the difference? Why is sometimes it, does this, and there are a lot of different things that can control that. Okay. Not when you notice that that's happening, you usually notice it in a certain position or under certain types of circumstances. Okay. That you're going to notice that it's going to shoot across the room. That is a talent for professionals. Okay. It's a talent that is brought in by professionals, but you can, if you have the right circumstances, you are also able to do that. What are the correct circumstances? Okay. Firstly, you need to be hydrated. You need to be, okay. So before you start, let's back up a little bit. Before you start, you need to empty your bladder. Okay. You need to empty your bladder because that FJ comes, why am I saying FJ? Because I think FE. Yeah, we'll say FE. Why am I saying FJ? FE. That FE is coming from your bladder. Okay. And so if your bladder is full of your waste products for the day, then you are going to expel those waste products. Okay. So first things first, you need to empty your bladder. Next, what's going to happen is you need to be fully aroused. Okay. This is not something that can just happen on the go. You need to be fully aroused. So you need to take the time to go through your foreplay, all those good things to get the blood where it's supposed to go. Usually if you do the correct process and you do get fully aroused, your bladder will fill up with the fluid that is necessary for that FE rather quickly. Okay. But you want to make sure that when it does fill up with the FE, that that there's none of your waste products in there, right? You can absolutely still do it with the waste products, but it's gonna be pee and urine, and you don't want that, right? So empty your bladder, get fully aroused. Okay, so you're gonna need to work on your positions. Okay, it is you're gonna need to be in a position that allows you to access the collection of nerves for that type of yeah. Okay. Because I'm like, I know if I said they're going to get me out of here. I know they're going to get me out of here. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to be stimulating your urethral sponge. Okay. Or known as the Gaffenberg spot or the G spot. That spot is going to be inside and up top. So think of your pubic bone. You're going inside and up toward the pubic bone. Okay. Behind that pubic bone is a collection of nerves that can be easily stimulated that are connected to your urethra. Okay. So by stroking that area, that might be good. That might be okay. By stroking that area, you are going to get that spot ready. Okay. You're going to get it ready. Now, there are a bunch of there's actually like 3 different ways that you could practice FE, but the one that you're specifically talking about is going to be the one that comes from your bladder. Okay. That is the ejaculation that comes from the bladder. So stimulating that collection of nerves deep in the vaginal canal is going to stimulate that area, and it's going to cause your bladder to release. And that's what you're going for, right? That collection of nerves is connected to that bladder in that area, and it causes the bladder to release. Now, for that release to become aerodynamic, you need a few things in place. Now, it doesn't always do this. Like, even if you do all these things, it still may not work out in that way. But if you will have a better chance of making it happen if you do this. So, you are going to mimic the positions that you see in the videos. Okay, I can't get into what that looks like, but mimic the positions that you see in the videos. You're also going to need, because that comes from the urethra, usually for you to make an aerodynamic shot, nothing needs to be blocking or putting pressure on that urethra. So usually you'll notice that when that happens, there's nothing inside of the canal, right? Very rarely is it a shooting situation during penetration. So you're going to have to learn the body, your partner's going to have to learn when to back out, when to, to give you that aerodynamic shot that you're looking for. But also, even if that doesn't happen and, you're not able to, shoot it across the room, whatever, the type of plateau that you would be experiencing still feels the same, even if it's a dribble or if it is a, full-on water hose. Okay, the plateau that you're looking for is still gonna feel the same. There are a lot of different ways. There are actually like 22 different orgasms that you can have, or types of orgasms that you can have. So with those types of orgasms, with all those options out there, like you've likely experienced a lot of different ones that you don't even know that you've experienced. But the goal, I understand the goal of wanting to be aerodynamic, but I want you to focus on the goal of the pleasure that comes with the aerodynamics, okay? So yes, there are some people who can do that. Hopefully those tips help you to become one of those people if that's super important to you. But I think it's more important that you are experiencing the plateau that comes with that type of stimulation versus, worrying about why yours isn't moving like it does on the TV screen. Again, those women are trained professionals, honey. They know how to put it, they can shoot it in a basket. So don't feel bad that you're not a trained professional. But you can up your chances of being able to make that happen by following those tips. Okay. I hope that helped. Okay. I hope that helped. I get so many questions about FE. It's crazy. But I love that people are interested in learning more about it. And, another question I usually get, I didn't get asked this question today, but is it, can everybody do it? You all have a urethral sponge. Everybody has a urethral sponge. So everybody has a collection of nerves in that area. Is it always going to end in that? No. But the way that our bodies are innervated can be different depending on, lots of different factors. How close your nerves and how much of a collection they have in those areas. Like you have at least 4 deep erogenous zones. So there's at least 4 places, and there's more than that, honestly. Now that they've realized that the clitoris, and let me show you a little map here. This is what the newest, and I say newest because like only in the last 5 years have they realized that this is actually what a clitoris looks like. And so almost all of the orgasms that you have actually do come from somewhere in the clitoris. And so this is the part that the little part that hangs out, but all of this erectile tissue is a part of your plateau process. And so sometimes you're touching areas that are down here. These are your vulva, your vestibular bulbs. And these vestibular bulbs are also made of erectile tissue. And so they swell with the blood that moves down there. They're able to swell up and they work in tangent with the clitoris to help you get to that plateau. So knowing that all of the different places in there are likely clitoral orgasms, it's just that the bulk of the nerves are going to be right here on the tip. And it's crazy how close this is, because let me see if I can find them. Okay, I had to make sure I add the thing. So when you look at it on this map, and I know y'all can't see it on TikTok, I'm so sorry. But on this map, you can see the almost identical similarities between a clitoris and a penis. When you start looking at the spongiosum, when you start looking at the corpus cavernosum, both entities contain those tissues, and they have a lot of the same functions as well. I mean, of course, the urethra is inside on the penis, but it is above on the clitoris. And so many of these places that are inside are a lot of the same tissues that you're hitting when you're having those other types of plateaus. Okay, so even if you're going in the back door, you're likely hitting areas in here, these vestibular bulbs, these crura, all these different things. You're likely hitting these areas, and that's what's giving you the plateaus that you're receiving. So, and again, this is they just worked on this. They just found out that this whole thing is what the clitoris looks like on the inside. Even though we've been studying bodies for all this time, and it's crazy because even knowing that this is what it looks like now, there's still so much more to learn. There is so much more to learn. So like, things are going to just keep coming out. We just found out that they weren't testing menstrual products with actual blood. Like 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, tampons and pads have existed for upwards of like 60, 80 years that they've been manufacturing them. And only in the last 2 years have they started testing them with actual menstrual blood. And because of that, the volume issues are changing, because if you look at the actual cycle, there's more than just the liquid that comes out, right? You're shedding your uterine lining, you are shedding there is a mucus that comes out. There's all these other things that are a part of that they're not taking into consideration. And so there's so much more to learn. I don't care who you are. Me, as someone who has been talking about coochies and penises for 11 years now, still has things to learn. I will be at the library early Friday morning looking up new things, because there's always more to do. So knowing that this is what the actual clitoris looks like, you have more of an opportunity to help someone, or even help yourself get to that plateau. Okay. And shameless plug of mine, I actually have books on the clitoris and the other vulva pieces. And then I also have a book on the penis and all those other pieces. And those books give you a step-by-step clinical drop down of all the pleasure maps deep in your body that you should be using to build your sexual health. Things that you need to be worried about, different holes and ducts that are coming out, different areas, circumcised versus uncircumcised. All these different things are conversations that need to be had that make you better, because you're learning, and it also just makes you comfortable with having the conversations about sexuality and sex. So this is my little motto. I just told myself the other day that I need to make a motto for the cervix, because I talk a lot about cervical pain and all those different types of things, and I'm just gonna leave that hanging out right there. Y'all can't see it, but since TikTok can't see the chat, at least they can see. So yes, if it is important to you for your ejaculate to be aerodynamic, those are the tips that you could use to make that happen. But I don't want you to focus so much on that versus the actual pleasure and the plateau of getting to that area. Okay. now, if you have sexual health questions, if you are just tuning in, feel free to drop your sexual health questions in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. If you do not feel like you have the language to ask your question, please don't feel bad about piecing the language together. Whatever you have to do, I am here to be a resource to you. And so I want you to get the answers to the questions that you need help with, okay? And I'm here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You know, if you want to talk about cleaning out, if you want to talk about pain, vaginal pain, if you want to talk about body dysphoria, whatever you want to talk about, that's what I'm here for. Now, I am not a therapist, okay? I'm not a therapist, but a lot of what I do will have you bumping up against some trauma. So don't be mad if I tell you that you need to seek therapy, because I'm going to tell you everybody needs a therapist. All the people, everybody, all the bodies. Everybody needs a therapist. But sometimes the block that you're having is not in your body, it's in your mind. And many of the building blocks of who we are can be traced back to trauma. It can be traced back to abuse. It can be traced back to the way that we were raised. It can be traced back to religious issues. And so sometimes those coats, I like to call them coats, can stop you from living your best sexual life. Okay. If you feel like if I do doggy style, then I'm going to go to hell, then that's going to have an effect on your mental health. Okay, especially if you really want to do doggy style. Okay, so you have to be open to those conversations. And sometimes it's going to be, you are going to have to go to therapy. Okay, and that's no shade. I'm not trying to like tell you that something's wrong with you or anything like that. You know, it's shit wrong with me. It's wrong with everybody. So it's not a personal attack. It's just sometimes the work needs to be undone in your mind for your body to get on board. You'll be surprised how often the body is not the fault, right? And stuff's not working the way you want it to. And it's easy to be like, oh, well, you know, it doesn't work anymore. Or, you know, I'm not creating lubrication or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a brain issue, because there are always ways around that. For whatever sexual issue you have, and I can say this with confidence, 99.9% of the issues that you may have multiple solutions to fix it. You just don't know that because no one's having the conversation about it. And when I say no one, I'm not just talking about you. Statistically, only about 30% of doctors are comfortable talking to their patients about sex. So it's not just you. No one is comfortable having these conversations. And because of that, we are missing, there's a big hole in the gaps of our sexual health. You know, most of us took a class when we were in 6th grade that talked about being musty and your voice dropping and your, you know, hair growing down there and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't talk about pleasure. It doesn't talk about pain. It doesn't talk about, you know, plateau or arousal or consent. And so there's all these other conversations that are not being had that we are just missing. We're missing the parts of those conversations. So I want to encourage you to use this space to ask your questions. I don't know if you know this or not, but it is very rare that you're going to run into a sexual educator, a sexuality educator. And so, you know, definitely use the resource if you haven't. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So if you have your questions, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything down here. I have no idea. I'm going to just tell y'all now, Annie is old. I don't know how to work TikTok. I don't know how to do all that stuff. So if I miss it, I'm sorry. You know, please help me. Please step in and help me. Because I don't know how to do all this stuff. I know about sex. I know about that. I can tell you about that, but I'm not always, hey, I see people are joining. Hi, y'all. Don't be mad at me. I don't know everything that's going on. But I appreciate y'all showing up. If you have your questions, you can drop them in the chat. I will be happy to answer any of those questions. Okay. So our next user question that was submitted to the email And, if you want to ask the questions in the email, you can absolutely do that. The next user question is, my boyfriend has a foot fetish. Is that weird? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about fetishes. Let's talk about, let's discuss it. So fetishes are things that are not inherently sexual that can elicit a sexual response from your body. Okay. There are plenty of things that do that. It's not just feet fetishes. So essentially a foot fetish is a type of fetish, but all fetishes are fine. As long as they're legal, everybody's of age, and y'all are having fun, it's fine. It's fine. So having a foot fetish is actually one of the more common types of fetishes, and low key, and I found this out just from being an educator, right? Just from learning. In the brain, the part that's hooked to the foot is also very close to the part that's hooked to the genitals. Okay? In your sensory map of your brain, those two areas are super close. Okay? That may be a reason, but I don't want to say that that's what makes legs make sense. Absolutely. The two pieces are close. Comma, but fetishes don't have to be triggered that way. That you could have an intellectual fetish. You can have a fetish for thighs. You can have a fetish for big men. You can have a fetish for big women. You can have a fetish for non-binary people. You can have a fetish for necks. You can have a fetish for hairy arms. There are so many different things that are not inherently sexual that can cause a arousal response in the body, right? And those places are not always linked, but it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with seeing outside things. And sometimes it's just a voice, right? And so your body is just made up of a bunch of different sensory information. Somebody can walk past you and you can smell them and be like, oh my God, what are you wearing? And just that smell alone. I saw a woman that said that she wears a specific scent when she engages in intimate activity with her husband. And that specific scent is the only scent that she puts on. She wore that scent to a party that was outside of the bedroom, and she said her husband was feral. He was feral because he knows what that scent means, right? And so there's nothing wrong with having fetishes, okay? Now, where can this become a problem? It can become a problem if you are not practicing that with consenting adults, right? You can enjoy thighs, you can enjoy feet, you can enjoy whatever, but when you start pressing that on other people without their consent, that becomes an issue, right? And so fetishes in themselves they're a part of your experience. They're a part of your sexuality and a part of your sexual experience. And somewhere throughout your existence and somewhere throughout that life, you're going to run into something that's going to turn you on that you were not aware was a thing that could turn you. You know what turns me on? When I come in and them dishes is done. Baby, I'm ready to tear this house down. Pennies ripped off. If them dishes is watched when I come in, right? And so there's going to be all types of things that are going to trigger sexual arousal in different folk that have no inherent sexual nature. And that's essentially what a fetish is. And so, no, it's not weird that someone has a fetish that is outside of the nature of sexuality. People have lived a lot of different lives. They, are interested in a lot of different things. And as someone I would consider, I've always been sexual, even before I was sexually active. I've always been considered a sexual being. I remember adult men used to tell me I was sexy when I was a kid. I remember that I found out when I was 14 years old. This had nothing to do with that, but I got a man rode his bike past me and ran his hand up my dress. And I chased him down and beat the dog shit out of him. I beat his ass. They called the police on me. And you know who got in trouble? Guess. Just guess. It was me. And that's when I found out that punching somebody in the throat is actually attempted murder. I was 14. I had just turned 14. I was 14. I might have been 13. I might have been 13, honestly. No, I was 14. I was 14. And so that's when I found out. But it is, I've always been, people have always considered me a sexual being. And so I've gone through people who've had all kinds of fetishes, and I've never been harmed. I never have. So setting your boundaries on what you like, yeah, your boyfriend might be into feet, but you're gonna find something that you into as well. Like, there are people who have, what are some of the, okay, so y'all tell me, put in the chat, what are some fetishes that you've heard of that are, that you have heard of that are unconventional, okay? Things that people have liked that you have found to be unconventional. And I'll start. I have heard, and again, I of course, I might have a little bit more information on this than you because I talk to people. But, you know, some people enjoy hairier women. I remember seeing a documentary about a man who was taking his ex-girlfriend overseas to help him find a hairy woman. He wanted a woman with hair coming off of her arms. I had a friend when I was in college who absolutely loved hairy women. I'm talking about mustache, arm hair, all that. I know someone who is attracted to deep armpits. Some people like deep armpits. Neck hair. People, you know how people have that sideburn that goes around into that. People have been attracted to that. And so there are a lot of different not inherently sexual things that can make someone aroused. So a foot fetish, it's actually really, really common. You're not even you're not even scratching the surface of kink with a foot fetish. So no, your boyfriend is not weird. But even if it wasn't a foot fetish, even if it was an ear hair fetish, even if it was, you know, a bang fetish, whatever, there are going to be plenty things in life that are not inherently sexual that could elicit a sexual response from you. So, girl, enjoy it. And if he like your feet, that's even better. You can leverage that. Use what you got to get what you want, girl. And I'll take that back. I don't know if that's a girl or a boy, because men also have foot fetishes. I like boys' feet. That is boys' feet. Boys who have cute feet is my jam. I love me a boy with some cute feet. Because boys' feet be broke down. They be playing sports and running sideways and cleats and be having corns and all kind of stuff. Toes on top of each other. I seen LeBron James' feet and I'm like, he's a high level athlete. I expect his feet to look like that. But man, baby, them feet is from the deuce, the four. Them feet is hitting all kind of gang signs. But, no, I am not shaming that man because, again, he is a high-level athlete and I will never be able to compare. Never. These little, well, I don't have little feet. I got big feet. But these big feet will never be able to compare to the eliteness of LeBron James' feet. So, a foot fetish, light work, honey. Light work. You don't even have to do too much for somebody who have a foot fetish. I mean, you want to get into some real hard ones. If somebody got a Lola Bunny fetish, baby, you got to do some work. You got to do them push-ups. You got to wear your corset. All kind of stuff. So, don't let a foot fetish keep you from the love of your life. Okay? Okay. If you have any questions about sex, sexual health, anything of that nature, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. If you are not comfortable putting your questions in the chat and you would like to Oop, I didn't do that right. There we go. If you would like to send your questions to me to be answered, if you don't want the question attached to your username, I absolutely understand that. You don't want people in your business. I get it. You can send those questions. Hi, I see other people have joined. Hey, y'all. If you have any questions about sex, sexuality, gender, any of those, you can drop those in the chat. I will be happy to answer them for you. If you don't want them, the questions associated with your username, you can email them to me at expressionoverrepression@gmail.com, or you can send them to any of my social media inboxes, and I'll be happy to bring them back to the chat next Wednesday. Okay. All right. I've had a good time with y'all. These are some good questions. It makes me sad that y'all don't like show up during the chat, but that's fine. I get it. I totally get it. Discussing sex and sexuality and all that is very taboo in a lot of cultures. And in a lot of our culture, it is relegated to only talking about dysfunction, or, being able to talk openly about sexuality is only attributed to if you're talking about pain or, fixing something or something like that. But I want to open the floor up to also highlight pleasure in these conversations, for us to be able to have discussions about how to find your pleasure, how to become open, how to become embodied in that experience, and how to have good sex. Like, it is, again, I know that people don't think it's important, but I cannot express to you, as a woman who is married to a man, okay, how important sexual health is. Not just for me, but also for my mental health. Not just for my body, but for my mental health. So, it's important. Don't let people tell you that it's not. Okay. Do we want to do one more, or how we feeling? What y'all want to do? We want to do a couple more questions. We got a little bit more time, before we have to get out here. Let's do one more. We'll do one more question. If your question didn't make it today, I definitely will bring it back tomorrow. So, we'll try to bring it back tomorrow. Yeah, because this phone's gonna die. So we'll try to let's try to do one more. Okay, this is the question. I'm gonna read it for you since TikTok can't see the chat. Why does my breast hurt before my cycle begins? What does my period have to do with my boobs? Okay. Okay, so let's talk about what's actually happening. When you have a baby, your boobs are there as a feeding mechanism for your baby, okay? And so when you get pregnant, there's a lot of systems that come online to help you to build, the perfect body to carry a baby, to feed a baby, to connect with a baby. And your nipples are a part of that process. There is a reason that your areolas are darker than the rest of your body. And that's to help the baby find the nipple. Like, there is a lot of systems that come online when you are making a baby, right? And your body, every single month, is trying to make a baby. I don't care what you are doing to try to stop it. I don't care what you taking, popping. I don't care nothing about that. Your body is trying to make a baby every single month, okay? And so when that happens, when you go through that process, your body delivers different amounts of chemicals to help that process along. So during your menstrual cycle, and I think I have a little... I know you can't see it again. Maybe we'll be able to come back, like I can stream from here. It keeps saying people are asking to... Oh no, it's telling me to ask other people to join me live. I would never do that. Oh my gosh. Imagine throwing somebody in here and we talking about buttholes and periods and stuff. Like, I would never survive. Anyway, so your menstrual cycle has 4 phases. Some of those phases run congruently or concurrently, but they are you are in different phases throughout the full 28 days. You are experiencing a menstrual cycle. I know you only bleed for a short amount of time, but that's a portion of your 28-day menstrual cycle. So we'll start at the first day that your period leaves. Okay, you go through your follicular phase. Your body pumps it with estrogen, and in that time frame, the body is rebuilding the uterine lining so that if a baby does become present, that it is an environment that they can cling to, right? So your uterus, the endometrial lining becomes thicker, and in the hopes that an egg is going to implant on that. Hold on. Let me see what this is now. Oh, I gotta do something. Hold on. TikTok making me do something to keep it up. Okay, I don't know what that is. It said due to inactivity. I know y'all see me on here talking, and there's people in here. What you mean inactivity? I'm in here doing the Lord's work. Anyway, maybe I'll turn it this way. You think that'll help? Okay. So now I'm sideways, but whatever. So your body is rebuilding that endometrial lining, right? And so then you go into your ovulation phase, which is going to be the phase where your body picks the egg that it's going to release, and it pops it out, right? So during that time, your body is peak progesterone, peak estrogen. It's pumping all the stuff in. And side note to that, your body actually does some really weird shit in that time frame to help you get pregnant. It actually makes your waist smaller, It increases the amount of pheromones that your body puts out. So it does like all of these things to try to help you get pregnant. Okay. Your body is like, bitch, this time for real is going to be a baby in there. But if that doesn't happen, right? So you go through your ovulation phase, the egg comes out. Your egg is only viable for about 24 to 36 hours. Once the egg goes through the cycle and it realizes there's no sperm in here that we cannot implant because nobody's here to do the work, your body starts going through the luteal phase. That's when you will start experiencing those huge drops. So the progesterone is going to drop a lot. Your estrogen is going to drop, and that's when you get moody and cranky and all those types of things. Well, one of the things that happens with those big drops is that during your ovulation phase, your breasts become firmer to try to trick you into getting pregnant. They become firmer, they sit up, they do all this stuff because that's where the estrogen and the progesterone are going. Well, once the egg doesn't implant, you get a huge drop from that, right? And so one of the side effects of that is that you will see tenderness in the breast because the baby did not show up. But if the baby did show up, you would still feel tenderness in the breast. But that's one of the earliest signs of pregnancy that mothers have documented is breast tenderness, to let them know that, that it's a baby in there. Now, you will go through that phase, and then your body will trigger your menstruation, and your uterus will start to slough that off. You will feel the contractions that are meant to slough off that uterine lining to get that blood out of there. It's getting rid of the environment because we didn't make a baby, right? And so you're experiencing a drop in your hormones, a drastic drop in your hormones, and that's why you could experience breast tenderness. But even if you do keep the baby, because now the breast tenderness is going to come from the trigger that your body needs to prepare to feed your baby. So, you're pretty much screwed either way. Like, and I get that, and I understand it, and I'm sorry. I wish I could control it, but I can't. So, even though you don't think that your period has anything to do with your boobs, because your body is a baby making machine and only cares about making a baby, it don't care that you trying to live your hot girl summer and do all that stuff. It only cares, can this egg implant? Is it sperm in here? Can we make a baby? That's what I'm on. Or can we make a baby? And if you can't, then you will shed that environment, and then you will start the process all over again. So you'll go through your days of bleeding, and then at the day of your follicular phase, it'll start rebuilding that environment. Start, maybe next time. That's what the body just keeps saying over and over and over and over and over. Maybe next time, maybe next time, maybe next time. But it is absolutely a part of it. And depending on how much progesterone the body like dumps out and drops, you won't always feel that tenderness. You won't always feel that breast tenderness. That sometimes it can be very light. Other times it can be so overwhelming that you can't wear a shirt. Like, I cannot wear clothing because it's too annoying and sometimes even painful. It could be painful because you feel like they won't go down. Like, they won't go down. And sometimes men experience that too. Not necessarily for the same reasons, but it can absolutely happen. So your breasts are actually very much linked to to your period, regardless if you want to believe it or not. Okay, they are very much intertwined. Okay, all right. Let me turn us back up here. Okay. Let's get back. Okay, that's the last one we're gonna do for today. I'm sweating. Y'all got me in here working today, but I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who stopped in, who joined in. Let's talk about what we got coming up for the rest of the week. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be blocked out on TikTok, but I get blocked every Monday, so we do what we can, and I'm not here for the pedantics of all that other stuff going on. I'm here for the people. I'm here to work for you and to make sure that you are getting the sexual health and help that you need. That's my job. I don't care nothing about what everybody else got going on. Okay. So let's talk about the rest of the week. Today was Ask Coach Catasha, where you can come in and drop your live sexual health questions. I appreciate everyone who stopped in and asked questions, people who email questions. I appreciate you all. You can come by next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time to ask your sexual health questions and get them answered live, okay? And I'm just be honest with y'all, I usually charge people for this. So, hey. I usually make a pretty little penny from it. So I'm just telling you that right now, you having access to free services. You need to use them, okay? So tomorrow is going to be Sex Tech Thursday, where we talk about the melding of sex and technology. And tomorrow we will be discussing artificial womb technology, which is super interesting. I can't wait to go through that with y'all. It was so fun. And then on Fridays is our messy day. Okay, we messy on Fridays. We messy on Fridays. We do late night with Coach Catasha at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can show up. We're going to be talking about what kind of sexual health mess is going on in the world. I actually got a couple little topics. We're going to talk about some stuff. I usually don't. Okay, so I do not make a habit of discussing people. That's not my jam. And it's mostly because I don't care about people enough like that. But I do understand the implications of some of the conversations that are happening. So I'm going to have to get out in front of it. I'm going to have to, we have to do what we have to do. So, tune in. You must be 18 or older to participate. If you are not 18 or older, I want to encourage you to look for other sexual health resources, because I do think that you still need to know. I just know that you won't understand what I'm talking about. It's going to take a long time before you get to you understand what we're talking about here. So, but if you are a young adult, there are so many more resources available to you. And so I would definitely encourage you to do some of that work. Now, if you are an adult, I have books available. You can Google my name on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can go to my website, expressionofrepression.com, and I will be happy to send you a book with my sign or with my signature in it and a bookmark, one of my bookmarks that I designed. Sexual health is important. I don't care what people are saying. I know that the current society that we are in doesn't really leave a lot of room for wanting to know more about your sexuality, sexual health, but I want to change that narrative. I want to be boots on the ground into making your sexual health a priority. So that's what we're going to be doing. Hopefully you can tune in for the rest of the week to catch the shows that we have available. We're usually either online between 12:30 p.m. or 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, we're here at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time to, do some chatting about that. So I appreciate all of you showing up. Thanks to everyone who sent questions. For the people who joined, all those things, I appreciate you for watching. For the people who are watching this later, I hope that this has been helpful to you and that you can find this space to ask your own sexual health questions so that I can get those answered for you as well. If I don't know, I'm really good at researching, so I'll be happy to look up if you bring some brand new stuff to me. I am not above figuring out what's going on with your girl, figuring out what's going on, how to fix it. I'm all about that. So if you are looking for one-on-one coaching or sexual health help, you can go to my website at expressionofrepression.com. You can book an appointment and we can chat. We can chat face to face, just one-on-one. It is going to cost you. Don't play in my face. It is going to cost you. So that's why I say, if you tuning in right now, you getting this information for free. So let me see. Hey, you getting this information for free, so use it. But if you want a more personalized experience, you can book me and I will be happy to sit down with you and we can talk about whatever you got going on. Okay. So I will see y'all back here tomorrow for Sex Tech Thursday, where we're going to be talking about artificial womb technology. I will see you then. Thank y'all for the hearts. I appreciate y'all. Like, look at this. I'm probably going to be blocked off at TikTok. I'll be back next Wednesday, hopefully, if they let me back. We'll see. But if not, you can still find me on Twitch. You can still find me on Facebook. You can still find me on YouTube. You can catch some of the older shows. If you are interested in learning more about your sexual health and learning more about your body, I'm here for you. All right. I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.